Okay, so there was Robert Kraft at the podium at Gillette Stadium back here on Felger and Mazz and the simulcast on NBC Sports Boston. I thought Robert did well right there. I thought that was a pretty good spot right there for him. I thought, not once did I hear we're going to keep that private. I don't think he answered. There were a couple times he didn't answer the question. Certainly the question about did you talk to Bill during the year, he even come close to answering it. But I thought Robert handled himself well. I thought that thing right there was okay. I thought this morning in the coverage this morning, the Dog and Pony Show of the mutually of parting of ways and the
mutual agreement,
amicable split and mutual agreement, and sort of what I got was a sense that dragging Bill Belichick out there in front of the cameras this morning, again, when I say this morning, the noontime statements that they read. So they read statements at noon, and Robert came back here and answered questions at 2. The statements that they read at noon, I felt Belichick was a reluctant partner in that thing. And I felt the coverage this morning of it was, frankly, cringy. And that was important to Robert, to get that coverage this morning and to have that moment with Bill at the podium at noon. That was important to Robert. I have some guesses why, so I'm asking this question kind of rhetorically because I kind of know the answer, but what I would say is, why was it so important to Robert to get that coverage this morning and have it portrayed the way it was portrayed this morning and have that photo op thing with Belichick at noon? Why is that so important to him when anyone with a brain or anyone who can think independently at all knows that it was a firing, it wasn't mutual, and it probably wasn't amicable? But why is it so important to Robert and the team to have it portrayed that way, if just for a morning? Why?
Okay, so I'll give you 2 answers. One, most people don't have a brain, so we should consider – no, I'm not joking. Let's be realistic. The majority of the population is run by a smaller percentage of the population. So let's start there. So he's appealing to the masses. He isn't necessarily appealing to – I don't even want to include myself in the small number. I'm probably in the bigger number. So that's one. Secondly, he likes the idea of being a benevolent king and not a dictator. So he doesn't want people to look at him as just another cold, heartless owner who is a dictator who fires people and throws them out on the street. He wants to be considered someone who is a benevolent king. And so that's again, it's very important to him. It's less, from my perspective, less important to me. And I looked at the whole thing and I said, I felt the same way you did. I could care less about the wrapping paper. Okay, I don't care about the wrapping paper. If you're a fan and you think the 24 years of Bill Belichick was a gift, which it was, where does the wrapping paper end up? In the trash.
Well, okay, let me just stop here, Mazz. I'm sorry to interrupt, but maybe not for Robert. And this is going to sound so silly to me. So silly. But is it as simple as, when Robert puts together his documentary, I know there's one coming out on Apple, but everyone has a documentary. There's going to be further documentaries. There's going to be NFL films, all this stuff. Is it just important for him to have the scene of them shaking hands at the end together?
Yes.
I think that's most of it, yeah.
And Bill Belichick saying the words, "I'll always be a Patriot"?
Yes.
Robert just referenced it again.
Yes.
In that statement here, in his 2 p.m. thing. So, that's all just PR. It's all just the TV show, the documentary, the picture in his office of Belichick shaking his hand on the last day. So we have to get put through all of that nonsense so Robert can put the picture up in his office and show the scene on NFL films of them shaking hands at the end.
Yep.
It's just, I'm sorry.
Okay,
it's like a waste of my time.
Well, and I happen to agree with you because I think it's all, most of this stuff is a mirage, okay? But, again, the way the world works, you know this as well as I, perception is reality. So years from now, if the word of mouth doesn't get passed down and someone goes and looks it up, you know what they're going to see?
Right.
The picture of the handshake between Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick and this kumbaya, come to Jesus moment, how everything was nice, and we separated and that was it.
Well, it's also important for it to exist so they can go back and play that clip or show those photos if he goes and wins. He has this with Brady now. Brady finally returned and said, I'm always a Patriot. But if Bill goes to a ready-made team and wins with the Cowboys next year, okay, well, that sucks to see. But, hey, it was a mutual parting, and he's forever a Patriot.
So it's obviously really important to Robert that he had the morning he had and they had what happened at noon. Again, those with brains or who can think independently know it's bunk, it's fugazi. But it's important to Robert, and so we got put through that. I mean, I've been saying for a while, I think Bill Belichick deserves to have nice things said about him on the way out the door, and he deserves to be celebrated, and I feel that. But then when I get it shoved down my throat in the manner that it was this morning, my natural inclination is to now say, well, wait a minute. Now just because the way I'm wired, I just can't take it. I just can't take the bull crap. And so now I would naturally want to say good things and celebrate Bill on the way out the door. But what you did to me this morning drives me to the other side of it. Mm-hmm. And I got to call you a bunch of BS artists and call out all your BS. If you had just played it straight, maybe I'd feel different. But I just can't get swept up in the crap that you're asking me to get swept up in. But this is all sort of the sidebar. The sidebar is Belichick's out. He's been fired. Bill Belichick's out as Patriots head coach. They've moved on from him. They've pushed Bill Belichick out the door.